as a security threat, it is a compelling purpose for global entry, but as a security threat, it's not a compelling purpose for a driver's license? Explain that.
Because I think that there are a lot of people that can have some kind of support for terrorists or whatever that can drive around in a car. I think that the interest on the side of the citizen for having a driver's license driving around, just because you have a fucking support or whatever for some terrorist thing, doesn't mean they can revoke your driver's license. I don't think that law would be. That law would not be.
Terrorists use cars to kill people. Terrorists use cars to kill people. Islamic terrorists use cars to kill people.
What was the other part of the strict scrutiny analysis that you said? Narrowly tailored. Do you think that revoking a driver's license from somebody is as narrowly tailored as not allowing somebody on an expedited security screening list?
Why is it different? Why is it different?
Well, can someone travel?
Because, yeah, exactly. No, correct, Wick. To make it more comparable, if you were to talk about banning him from all airline travel, I'd say, well, now, hold on. Now we've got, that is not narrowly tailored. Now we're talking about something completely different. If you wanted to compare this to going in an expedited line at a DMV to skip the ordinary background check.
p.m. to 2:30 p.m. EST. And then on Tuesdays, I'm live on my home channel, Counterpoints Politics. But I parasocially love you. I still love you guys, even though I chatted mad shit and used homophobic language. So looking forward to the next one.
Hey, thanks for being here, Counterpoints. We really appreciate you. Go check him out.
Yep.
I'm out of his day to come on our show. Give him that courtesy. Destiny, please.
I think it's a good question to ask who we want to include in our.
If my landlord comes after me in like on stream, all right, at least it will be a fucking banger story, okay? It will literally be a banger story, all right? There are people who have died on stream before, okay? Listen, it's a thing. It's a thing, okay?
Democratic Party apparatus. I think that the majority of this has to do with us as being media figures, so people in the media. I don't think there's anything wrong with including people who have some fundamental base values in agreement that generally revolve around concepts related to liberalism and free market enterprise. I think those are hugely important parts of the United States. I think they're an important part of wealth generation. Even when Econoboy brings up, Norway, and he talks about all the money that they get from their global wealth fund, like the majority of this is invested in literally international stocks from capitalist ran companies. I think that like the defense of capitalism and free market enterprise is an essential part of the United States. I think that if you want to talk about reform,
dude, you can't possibly deny that I am a content machine, okay? Like that is the definition of content, okay? I'm sorry that my landlord is epic content, okay?
Reforms or redistribution of wealth, I think all of that is great. All of that can happen within the basket of a liberal capitalist country. I don't think that we should seek to keep people inside of our movement who would literally dispossess the majority of our movement if they had the power to do so. When people are talking about things like re-education camps, and it's not just random people, but it is literally some of the largest figures that represent that label in the media sphere, I'm way more likely to look to that person. Like Pisco said, I look at use definitions of words, not just strict definitions of words, than I am to look to the Communist Manifesto. And when you've got people like that, or people like Aaron saying that they would ban all forms of private enterprise or all forms of private property, I don't think that these are people that you need to ideologically align yourself with, just the same way that I wouldn't ideologically align myself with some third positionist Nazi because he says he also wants social health care. He just only wants it for white people. So he's willing to have it for everybody first until we kick all the black people out. I think that when we talk about who we should include in our movement, I think one of the most important things we should look for is reciprocity. I think that this conversation would be totally fucking different if there were all of these socialist shows where people like Crystal and Kyle were arguing back and forth with each other about like, hey, don't you think we go like a little bit too hard on the liberals sometimes? Or don't you think that maybe we should be like a little bit nicer to some of these people rather than who the fuck can we primary in the Democratic Party? Who are these like moderate liberals that we can excise? Or like the last show that I just watched before coming on here where Crystal Ball is literally excoriating a Michigan senator because she doesn't have the most pure position possible on fucking Israel-Palestine. So I don't think that we should align ourselves with a group of people who say cut a liberal and a fascist bleeds and liberals always side with fascists. And I think that if you were looking at people that you wanted to align with, look for people who are also building a bridge your way, not just people who are looking to funnel people off of your movement.
Okay, thank you for being here. Check out his channel. I don't really need to promote him. He's the biggest guy here. Econoboy, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Econoboy, econoboy.substack.com if you're interested in...
They sound so... Okay, listen, I know that I might be in imminent danger, but can I just say that this is epic content, okay? Nothing will ever change the fact that this is epic content, all right? Okay, whatever this is that we're watching right now, in addition to whatever is happening IRL, okay? This is epic content happening on top of epic content. It's like epic contentception.
Any of the writing that I do. If you want to know what my actual positions are, I did literally write them down in an article series that's now posted. So if you're interested in learning what my real positions are, go over there, econoboy.substack.com. And what I would say about the summary of the debate is this. Number one, Connor clearly actually doesn't know shit about history because he seemed completely unfamiliar with the entire history of actually existing socialist governments outside.
I know this is outros, but go fuck yourself.
Well, I didn't interrupt you. You said I was stupid. I mean, we're just throwing it back. Connor, calm down. So the point is, Connor doesn't actually know shit about history, to be fair, because he was completely unaware about the entire history of actually existing socialist governments in Oceania, and also Europe. So that was just the thing that I tried to add to the debate. When it comes to Connor, when it comes to Destiny, I feel like Destiny really didn't understand my point about Norway and like Nordic institutions. My only point about that is that the U.S. could build domestic sovereign wealth funds.
Oh, come on. Come on. What? Dude, that's crazy, dude. Just... Alright, whatever, man. Sounds like the most Foodshops thing of all time, getting harassed by some drunks.
It's easier than Norway because the U.S. has a lot of financial capital available to it, whereas Norway doesn't. Like Norway literally, like the capacity of like the Norwegian financial capital market couldn't handle all their oil wealth. To the extent that it could, I would argue that it probably should, but that's a totally different discussion. On the actual topic of the debate, here's the last thing that I'll say. I do appreciate that it seems like Destiny clarified and narrowed his position to a substantial degree, that we shouldn't treat everyone who uses the socialist label as a Nazi. Instead, we should treat certain people in the socialist left media space as Nazis, quote unquote, and kind of exclude them from the movement. I pointed out several times that that is actually a statement that all four of us, all five of us, I guess, actually agree with. That to the extent that people in the media are like militantly anti-democratic party and just like really bad faith with Democrats all the time, and they're trying to just occupy democratic spaces for their own ends and not to try and, you know, push forward an electoral movement, we should exclude them from the inner party and from strategic discussions and from platforms like the DNC. I've only said my position, I'll repeat, is that we should take advantage of their platforms insofar as Democrats actually want to like participate in their platforms, not them participate in our platforms. And I think that was just a useful clarification. To the extent that Destiny and Wick are interested, I look forward to the socialism versus capitalism debate in the future, because it seems like the people want that as well. But I'd have fun doing.
No, man, thank you so much for the $5, buddy. I appreciate that. Dev joins later. Oh.
Doing it anyway. It was really fun, guys, and there was a lot of useful clarification, I feel like, and yelling.
Does he
yelling between Destiny and Pisco.
yap?
And I love you too, Connor, even though you're a bitch. No, I'm just kidding. But I do love you too.
Okay,
anyway.
thank you for being here. You can check out his Substack. I have a link to it in my YouTube description, and you can find him streaming on Live and Learn and other podcasts. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Pisco.
Yeah, as I predicted, I don't think there's a ton of substantive disagreement here. I think at the heart of this is some kind of semantic confusion or a debate about what the term socialism means, what the term communist means, and these different subcategories of people. And there, I just think that there's a bizarre interpretation and special pleading, really, from Connor and Steven, you know, that socialism doesn't include single payer. Well, if uses mean
kind of based how progressive your landlord is, though, attacking you for CCP and looking right past being trans. Thanks, I guess.
that's, you know, people call that socialized medicine. You know, socialism doesn't include places like, you know, China. People use that term that way. You know, the major socialist figures in the Democratic Party wouldn't be considered by most people who use the term socialism to be socialist themselves. That's not how people use the term, but that's kind of a semantic disparity without much significance to it. But actually check out the substantive disagreement here. When it comes to Marxist-Leninists and the people, when we use the term like tanky to refer to people who like substantively don't believe in our constitutional order, or who substantively want to get rid of the rights that we hold dear, there's a full agreement. We don't agree that those people should be making decisions. We don't agree that they should be in the halls of power. I think that we agree that like we should interact with them in terms of where it's useful for Democrats to do that. I think that that's fine. So I don't think that there's actually much disagreement on that front at all. But it seems like there's like a special pleading, I'm going to say, for the kind of prescription. But just in the media space, not people who are politicians. If they're politicians out of the ticket, you shouldn't let the socialist label scare you away. But it's
Oh god, I fucking hate normies, dude. I fucking hate normies.
certainly like we should kick out Econoboy from Live and Learn because he uses the socialist term label. But is that more of a problem with the name of the show being Live and Learn? Is that the problem, or is the problem that he uses the socialist label at all? And so what actually is the problem here? Is the problem that we were too tonally respectful to the Vanguard when we were discussing? I want to sort of stress again, how to best implement the Biden agenda. It wasn't a discussion about socialism versus capitalism. We weren't saying like, oh yeah, maybe we should have a vanguard party. It was a discussion about like tactics that Biden could use to implement his own agenda. And what, tone policing, that like we were fucking pussyfooting around when there's big substantive disagreement, and we gave our back into hutch on discrete points, like on the Manchin point, on the Joe Biden legislation accomplishment points, on the point about the student loan stuff. And if that's the case, why doesn't it apply equally to Stephen and Connor, who sometimes, yeah, they disagree. I agree, they disagree when they bring on some of these conservative figures, but they play nice with them. Fundamentally, it's a respectful conversation. You talk to Ben Shapiro, respectful. Talk to Myron Gaines, respectful. Even, talk to Nick Fuentes at a certain time, respectful conversation. So is it really just the tone about it? We didn't get too much into the specific examples of us like pussyfooting for Hasan Piker. I want to just stress, I do not like Hasan Piker. I never said Hasan Hamas Piker, whatever you want to call him, wasn't a Marxist-Leninist. On the specific semantic disagreement about like Aaron's trader rating communism.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again for the $80. Okay. From Wolf and Lynn, $80 in total. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
For Marxist-Leninism. I think that's an interesting semantic discussion. I think that Stephen and Connor points are probably wrong about that, but I don't think that that's anything about what's going on here. This is not about those distinctions. It's not about our distinctions on the First Amendment and should viewpoint discrimination matter for support of terrorist groups or anything like that. What's going on here is, frankly, this is my opinion, realistically, these guys hate Hasan for probably good reasons, some good reasons, and so
Really? His fucking excuse is gonna be Hasan derangement syndrome? Really? Really? It's gonna be Hasan derangement syndrome? Dude, that's gonna be his defense.
So we're all just trying to get
Not
at
good.
that and calibrate our ideology and our rules and our prescriptive rules on that specific thing. And I don't think any of it has to do.
All right, I'm good. All right, listen, this was this was quite the adventure. I'm going to sleep. I'm gonna go do stuff. This was what a wild ride. Oh, I said if I did make a whole thing for this, but I don't think we got through like fucking any of this debate prep. So, Jesus Christ.
Listen, all I'm gonna say is absolute cinema. Okay? Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema.
Christ. Oh my God, what a convo. All right, I love you guys. You can go watch Wick and hang out with him afterwards. Be careful, stay safe. I love y'all so much. Oh, and buy tickets to my show that's coming up soon. Fuck! What is it? On the 5th in Houston, okay? If you're a Trump and you want to argue with me, okay? I will strike you down harder than you've ever been stroked before. Don't forget it.
Um... Uh... Uh... Oh, I see. Bad empanada. Oh. Okay. This was interesting.
Or concept conveyance of what exactly a tanky is.
Yeah, no, I think that it was kind of vaguely alluded to.
We're probably gonna start this a little bit and just to see the gist of what this was, to see if it's worth watching or now. But if it's boring, then it's boring, you know? If it's boring, then it's boring.
As having something to do with like violence of Republican bashing, I would be like, oh, that's like
When you see criticism of the Republicans, it's almost if there's a
Wait, and he talks with fucking Dr. Abiy, the guy who voted for Trump? For Israel? What? How does that make any sense? Why would you be okay with that? Okay. Hold on. I just... Give me a second.
hopefully
Guys! We have more concurrent viewers than Pisco. Good job, guys. 66 concurrent. Look at that. 66 concurrent. We have 150-ish constant. Look at that. We're more popular than Pisco at the moment, okay? Interesting. I actually want to see what they say in the debate afterwards. Henwick and Tom,
To temper
Steve.
people's answers on that, to like,
Why not join the community? Here. Catch up on updates with my landlord, okay? That's just remain cheating. His stream already ended. That's just remaining viewers. Oh, okay. I'm cooked. Never mind.
to kind of force them to answer the question is essentially like
Him, which you did, but that's
lying or
it might be
during
represents-
the force them to answer the question.
Wait, so did he crash at some point? Pisco's viewers drop off after I'm a communist records watch. Nah, I mean, Egg has said that the stream ended at some point. Who stonks up? Yeah. I just want to. I just want to see the moment after. I just want to see the moment after Destiny leaves. Okay. And then I'll process what happened in peace.
When there's big substantive disagreement and we gave our back into hutch on discrete points, like on the Manchin point, on the Joe Biden legislation accomplishment points, on the point about the student, they respond, get to that
And did we just
ideology and our like rules and our prescriptive rules on that specific thing. And I don't think any of it has to do with like major substantive disagreements on the merits. And I think that was shown today.
Okay. Well, thanks for being here, gang. You can leave if you
damn?
want.
Did we just lose Steven?
I think he got bored. It's probably true.
That was rude.
It is what it is.
I'm a professional. I stayed till the end.
Well, thank you. But if you need to leave, you may. I have some people who want to come in and talk and things like that. You could stay if you'd like. But yeah.
Are any of them
all the
Aaron?
time. Why not?
Why not? Okay, let's bring on some people.
I got it.
Two
but-
callers.
Yeah.
Oh shit! It's Dev. I guess I got to stay and
Evan
wait.
history speaks. Couple
Dude.
of famous caller ins.
Famous caller inners. Okay. Hi, guys. You're live.
And you're muted. Both of yous.
Yeah. Well, that's on your ends, gang.
Foodshops showing some sass to our landlord. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die slaying, okay? I'm gonna die sassy. I refuse to die like a fucking retard, okay? Listen to me. I refuse to die like a retard. I want to die sassy, okay?
Not sure. No, we're gonna get to super chats at the end of the stream, gang. I will read super chats. It will be at the end of the stream. Don't worry. You
Hello.
did not miss the
How's it
super
going?
chats. Yeah. Hello, Dev.
That was a shit show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty. It was pretty great.
No, that
was-
I thought it was absolutely hilarious.
And Destiny,
Okay.
thank you for the raid on YouTube. I really appreciate you. Okay.
Oh, that's sweet.
Destiny's watchers are watching. Okay.
Dev, I am hungry. Do you have anything that I need to address?
I don't think so. If you want to go eat.
Okay. I parasocially love you guys. Looking forward to the next fight. Sorry for using homophobic language and ableist
cool.
language. I'll catch you
Alright,
next time.
okay. See you later.
See you,
Okay.
man.
So what you guys are here. You have some questions for Econoboy or Pisco? They're the ones that stayed.
Yes,
Go ahead,
Econoboy.
please. Hit it.
I've read your Substack. I know what's going on. I have
I believe,
no
I
clue.
believe when Dev says he read a thing, I believe him. He probably really did read that entire thing.
So when you say that this is socialism, I don't buy it. It's
This is definitely some random Canadian.
sovereign wealth funds, and it's from what I understand, it's like publicly owned stock portfolios. I don't see the socialism.
It's collective ownership of the means of production.
Okay, but like that could
That
could be
could mean a
almost
lot of
anything,
different things.
That's-
I agree.
It's a broad term. Why are you guys like immune to like people use the term? Do you agree? People use the term to refer to like socialized medicine, and that is how it's used. Dude, like, do you agree that single payer healthcare is?
Dude, Pisco is actually in shambles right now. Dude. Dude, Pisco is actually unironically in shambles right now. Like you can tell this guy's in shambles.
Socialized? Socialist policy?
Jesus.
I don't think so. I wouldn't put it there.
People use that term to refer to those kinds of things, right?
Well, but Dev, really quick,
Yeah,
Pisco.
yeah,
So,
but
Dev,
people are retarded though.
well, Dev, for instance, okay, I don't think it's retarded to say that single-payer healthcare is like a socialist institution. For instance, right? Many countries do have privately owned for-profit insurance companies. However, in like your country, Canada, that's a
PTSD
publicly owned service, right? Like it's a socially owned means of production. The thing that they're producing is the service of providing insurance.
Well, no,
I think I have PTSD
yeah.
too.
The insurance is funded by taxes, but the actual hospitals and the clinics, they're all privately owned. Yeah.
All right, and I'm not making any broader of a claim.
Insurance,
the insurance industry, and I understand you guys have some private options. I'm just saying that there's some private schools, but it's mostly public schools. You could have totally private insurance. You don't. You have mostly publicly owned and democratically accountable insurance. That's just and I'm not saying that makes
Pisco more like piss cooked.
Canada a socialist country, but it makes Canada a country with one more socialist institution than other countries that have private insurance.
See, whenever I've debated other socialists who weren't you on this topic, I've pointed out that you could then go over to Nazi Germany and they had a lot of similar things where the state was involved in production. And they go, no, and they really don't want to give that up.
Policies. Wait, they did have some socialist policies.
My answer to that would be that I think there is probably a meaningful semantic disagreement about what it means to own something, right? So I think that where most socialists are coming from is they would typically say these are like the same types that would say like the USSR isn't like really socialism because it wasn't democratic in nature. It wasn't true horizontal ownership and like democratic ownership, public ownership, because the public didn't really like own and hold accountable the institutions of Nazi Germany, even though they were government owned. And so I think there probably is a meaningful difference in the type of ownership that the Nazi government provided to its citizens and the type of ownership that like the Canadian government provides to its citizens. Sorry. But to the extent that we just want to say like, hey, like anything that's owned like by the government, I guess is like a form of collective ownership that falls in the socialist canon. Like, yeah, places like the USSR or like you could even say like Nazi Germany had those kinds of institutions. But semantically, I do think that there's probably a meaningful difference. But I'm not going to fight you that hard on the label. I just happen to think that when it comes to collective ownership of the means of production, the model that I provide is certainly a vast collectivization of the means of production. And that makes it, that makes our society much more socialist than it was before my model is implemented, essentially.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's just that this definition of socialism means that it really does boil down to the right-wing meme of socialism is when the government does stuff.
Well, Deb, would you agree? Would you agree that I keep using the Labor government because it's just the one I'm most familiar with. Would you agree that the Attlee government was a socialist government that engaged in the process of implementing socialism? And the way that they did that was nationalizing industries.
I'm not sure. So he was a Fabian, right?
I do want to maybe broaden the discussion just a little bit because it's going to be
it's semantic. This is what I mean. It is semantic. So so what is the actual disagreement here?
Really quick, this to be fair is not semantic.
I'm sorry, 1 HP Pisco is way too funny, dude.
I'm just asking Dev if he recognizes that, like, literally Attlee called himself a socialist, and the socialists in the Labor Party, they at least thought that they were doing socialism by the policies that they enacted.
Well, I do know that they viewed themselves as that, but I'm not sure how you view yourself as all that important because I know that you guys think that.
What's the right meaning of a word, Dev? Wait, Dev, what's the right meaning of a word? What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by what do I mean?
Like, yeah, so you're like, it's not true socialism. Like, what is a word? What does a word objectively mean, separate apart from how it's used by like some mass of people or by experts in a given context? I guess I don't have. Do you have an ideology for what words should mean?
Okay, I understand that point. This is the definition as used. I get it, but like, if I were to come in here and call myself a fascist, but not actually believe in anything fascist, then it's like, well, I'm using the word that way. It's like, well, it doesn't matter, right? Like, there are meanings to things.
No, Dev, I would agree that there's an agglomeration of facts that we would typically associate with like what words mean, obviously. But I would say that my point in this panel, and my point in so many of the people, especially in Destiny's community, that are saying, what is Econoboy talking about? These governments weren't socialist, they were social democrats, despite the fact that they were contemporaries of socialist movements in the USSR and Mao. They made arguments against those forms of socialism. They took their own power and did their own version of socialism. And even going all the way back to Marx, contemporaries of Marx debated Marx on what socialism really meant, because there's obviously a diverse tradition of what this word really, really means, right? But there's a big tradition, just like there's a big tradition of what.
Well, dude, what's even the point of defining yourself as a socialist if you know in the near future you're just gonna push for policies anyway? Why make such a big deal about it? Why the fuck would you write about it? Like, why would you do all these things? I don't know. It's just like all of this just seems incredibly useless to me. Like, there's no point in doing any of this, honestly. In my
Capitalism
opinion.
really means.
Or
But I think that's
Christianity,
very-
or any
but I
other
was
sort of
gonna
label.
say,
Like,
the last thing I was going to say,
Oh, hey, no Destiny and still 140 concurrent viewers. Someone said I can't live without Destiny. Ugh.
Yeah, that's all true. That's all true. I agree.
I would say the single biggest through line to what socialism.
Also, bigger question: why do you think SOCDEM isn't a better label for you? I mean, I don't think so. I just like. What do you? Oh, to Econoboy. Yeah, sure. For me, I just don't care about these labels anymore. I just call myself a liberal, and that's it. That's the end all be all.
Means the largest
They're all here for
universe
Rick.
of
Oh, hell
socialism
no, Lynn,
is the
take
collective
that out.
ownership of the means of production, which is a project that all of those governments that I referenced engaged in, and it's the project that I'm engaged in by proposing my model on my Substack.
So, if that's the definition you're using, then
If your project is to be as mentally retarded as possible, then sure. Okay.
most governments have been socialist in some way or another.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Well, then it's not that useful of a label
Well, then the term is meaningless. Then what's the point in having the label in the first place?
to
Yeah,
describe different
and
types
I just
of
want to be clear.
governments.
That's not what we are talking about when we use the word socialist. That's not what I am talking
Yeah,
about, right?
yeah.
That's not what I don't think Dev is referring to that. I don't
Well,
think
as long
a
as
lot
we,
of
as,
the people
as,
who
as
have
long as long as long as we
issues.
understand the differences of the words that we're using, that's fine. I'm just saying
but-
that, like,
but,
I understand that
if I may,
understand that.
because
Yeah,
the
sure.
panel's over, right? And I know I jump in a lot, right? But I can jump in more. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Go for it. Yeah,
I the problem I'm
French.
having specifically, and we've talked about this before, I believe, at least in tangentially, Econoboy, is I think that you are laundering the term in such a way that
Laundering.
bad actors are saying, yeah, I'm a socialist too, like Econoboy socialist, but I don't believe they're actually honest in what they're saying.
Yeah,
I think
but
that
I've already-
I frankly think Straighter Raid, and she's welcome to come on at this point. Jump backstage, we can pull you in, right? And you can answer for your crimes, so to speak. But I think Straighter was just telling the truth that
So I
a lot of
yeah,
people who
she's
use
a
the term
communist.
socialist
I've-
are just communists.
I've already agreed that there's going to be a margin of people that have like ulterior motives when they use the label. However, what I would say is this: I understand that to a lot of people listening, it sounds confusing and arguably like it arguably sounds like ridiculous to say that every government does some kind of socialism when they do like collective ownership of the means of production, right? However, what we have to understand is two things at once can be true. That socialism and capitalism, in some senses, are binaries, right? That capitalism is the private ownership of the means of production. Socialism is the collective
Sure,
ownership
it's
of
a
the means of
spectrum
production.
to an extent.
Okay.
Every economy is a spectrum economy. I get it.
Well, it's not just that they're a spectrum, but there's also a process by which socialism comes into being. That we didn't have socialism or socialist institutions, and then eventually in a socialist ideal, every institution is a socialist institution. And in doing the process of bringing socialism into being, that is to bring privately owned means of production into collective ownership. And so during that process, you're going to end up like we live today. And I'm not a historical materialist. I'm not saying it's inevitable. Like we live in today, though, where pretty much every society is a mixture of capitalist and socialist institutions. And that's the only point that I'm making.
Sorry for interrupting you, Econoboy.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
History
please.
Speaks.
Wait, so when would you? Okay, so I guess my question here is, when would you begin to call a government a socialist government, right? What is the transition point between a capitalistic government into a socialistic government, right? Like if you were to have this discussion, and for the record, it's only because I respect Econoboy more than Pisco, okay? Pisco is like an actual like fucking bad faith retard, okay? Like that would be my question at the very least.
Yeah, I guess I just have a few questions for the
Obviously, I'm not trying to do a Loki's wager, okay? But I'm just saying, like, fuck. I feel like this is a question you have to answer, though. I think at some
panel.
point.
So, first, Econoboy, do you actually prioritize? So you're socialist or whatever. Do you prioritize liberalism and democratic choice over socialism or the public ownership of the means of production? Because traditionally, the first principle, of course, was public ownership of the means of production, and that's also how you frankly get so many of these authoritarian regimes, because they're not willing to acknowledge democratic choice if it comes out in a way that isn't communistic.
Yeah, but no. So I'm steeped in the oceanic and European tradition of democratic socialism, where I would say that I do take seriously the principles of democracy, right? And so I would agree that there's certainly a tradition.
I feel like you can't have socialism without some aspect of a command economy, right? Yes. Yeah, you have to. You have to have some command economy, yes. Yep. And also, when was the last time a socialistic government has happened without, like, using force taken over in the modern sense, with, like, the modern
Of
setting or
socialism that
whatever
does
the
not
fuck?
take seriously the tradition of liberal
I just
democracy.
don't know if there is
I'm just
one.
not part of that like more narrow universe of socialists. I'm on another end of the socialist,
So there is a call after this one, and he asks Econoboy a question that absolutely destroyed him. Okay.
spectrum universe.
By the way, it's already a late stream. I'll probably end stream soon, but however, fuck. Okay, we'll see. The amount of people we need to go over is massive. Okay, like we need to go over Wik TV, like the rest of this call-in panel. That's one thing we have to go over, and then we also have to go over Jay Stokes' reaction to this. That's another thing we have to go over, and then we have to go over Pisco coping. Okay, that's another thing we have to go over. All right, so we have plenty of things to we have plenty of things to cover, thankfully. Okay, I mean, good, right? Good. However, let's just say if I can stay alive IRL, okay, before that happens. All right.
Okay, beautiful. Does anyone have like
well,
go ahead,
see,
Dev.
here's my contention,
You were
though, is that,
DMing
like,
me a bunch of shit during the show.
yes, I was.
Right?
This is a shit show. No, Econoboy, it just seems like you're rescuing the label of socialist from the dustbin of history. But if we flip the tables on this, you wouldn't accept this if it was being done for the label of fascist. If there were like good fascists who come along and say, you know what, I'm not like those old fascists. I'm going to be a democratic fascist. We have some differences of opinion.
Or is
but,
the
like,
example of a tradition of fascism where contemporarily, like Econoboy's pointed to, where that it emerged that there was this group of plausibly nice fascists.
You can tell he's destroyed. Oh God.
I think there are cuddly socialists, but there's not cuddly fascists. At least from my reading of history. Maybe History Speaks can speak on that. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, socialism has a much broader tradition. There's a Western tradition that I think, as opposed to the East and the Eastern Europe and the Third World, where Econoboy probably falls into. So I think the label is different than fascism. But I guess I'm just interested in how he thinks. I guess one other question I have for all of you guys.
Wait, do you agree? Wait. Do you agree that there's a huge? I just want to get like an agreement. Like you agree, therefore, don't you, with Econoboy, that it's fundamentally different and that it's not as problematic? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Oh, and also, even if we go for Marxism,
I'm not sure I do, but go ahead.
Okay, but even I would even say this: even if we're just making the comparison, Marxism, Leninism to Nazism, it's not a difficult discussion. I mean, you have Joseph Stalin, yes, you have Mao Zedong, but even those cases I don't think are comparable evils to Hitler. But you also have like Khrushchev or Mikhail Gorbachev or Castro. I mean, I'm not saying these are good regimes, but it's not even the same moral.
They're horrible.
Hold on, I want to take issue with this because okay, I'll even grant you that. But it's still, it's like saying, well, would you rather be burned alive or be thrown off a building? Thrown off the building is probably going to hurt less, right? It's probably better in every conceivable way. But at the end of the day, you're still dead. It's still not something you
No,
want.
but
It's still
but
something
why do you
that's
keep
very, very
ignoring?
bad. Right?
Why do you keep ignoring Econoboy's example, contemporary examples of a socialist tradition?
Because they don't
that, you know, he
they
didn't-
exist in a liberal framework, right?
His voice is broken. But more importantly, his soul is broken. He's cooked, right? Dude. Oh my god. GG, dude.
Exists
No,
in a
but
liberal
so-
framework.
He is a
where they
liberal.
did not-
He's a
they
liberal.
did
He's a
not-
liberal.
Really
He's
quick,
a
really quick,
liberal.
really quick. Wick, we had this whole conversation about how even Marx himself said that lower stage communism would be stamped with the society of its past. That obviously,
I don't have a problem
that
with
you
Econoboy.
obviously you would have no, but you're saying.
But I have a problem with some of the
But-
people who aren't you, who you are,
No.
in my opinion, running cover for.
But wait, you're making 2 points at once. You're making 2 points at once.
That's 2
You're
points.
making
That is 2
so
points.
okay.
Peace
You're making
down.
1 point, which is that kind of socialism only exists in liberal frameworks. I'm saying socialism and liberal frameworks are entirely compatible, and in fact predicted to be compatible by
I'm
Marx.
going to grant you all that.
Now,
I'm going to
okay,
grant
thank
you all that because that doesn't matter to my point. My point
felt like that was
is
the point you were
that there
making.
is a sizable number of people who call themselves socialist who are not you, Econoboy. They do not share your values. They are simply using your label, and you are
And I'm gonna grant
laudering
you
the
that.
term for them.
And I'm gonna grant you
do
that.
bad things to
I want to pose
destroy
a
liberal
question
democracy.
related to this. Do we actually think Hasan, Trader Aid, Mike from PA, that these people are actually serious about an authoritarian system?
Yes,
or
Mike from PA. I can't speak to Straight Aid, but Mike from PA, Hassan, absolutely yes. They absolutely
Yes,
gave
yes,
the
they are.
power
I don't
to
think-
do
wait,
what they
wait,
wanted
wait.
to do.
I-
It would be a tyrannical
I have a
regime.
problem
There would
with
be
the
blood on the
assumption.
streets.
I have a problem with the assumption. One of the assumptions is that Aaron is in favor of an authoritarian regime. I don't have any evidence of that.
Again, I
Aaron,
said
I will
aside from
switch Aaron
Straight
out of
Aid,
that.
we're talking about
Okay.
Aaron is
Oh my god, yeah, but then you prove yourself to not be trustworthy, right? You literally went out of your way to defend Aaron and to pretend that you're retarded, right? Like, I mean, you are retarded, but you were bad faith. You lied. You lied about like Aaron not being whatever one. Why should anyone like trust you on that? Also, don't you have an actual girlfriend? Yeah, again, why are you simping for Aaron? Why the fuck are you like simping for the great betrayer? Really? You're simping for the great betrayer? Why are you simping for the great betrayer, Pisco? Why are you doing that?
I'm talking about Mike from PA. I'm talking about Hassan. I am very familiar with them, and
That's very
I'm telling
disappointing.
you,
Very,
I
very
believe
disappointing.
with all my heart, right? And I have evidence that they
Rare W Wick acknowledging Hassan would have tyrannical regime. Yeah, but then dude, sure, but like it's Wick is just cringe in general. Yes, but true,
would
yes.
be authoritarian in a way that if they had control and if they had power, far worse than Trump. And I don't like Trump. I voted against Trump. I think Trump is a currently the biggest threat to free speech, for example, that we've ever seen, right? But I am telling you, if Mike from PA and Hassan had the power that Trump has, they would be worse.
Democratic socialists and cooperativists predate all of these like tankies or whatever. The fucking
Cool.
Who's this person?
that's fine, right? So the tankies, right? They pretend to be democratic. Most of them say that if they weren't democratic, they wouldn't be socialist. So they're all putting that in their line, right? All of this collective ownership, this collectivization, it's all because of the idea that there should be democratic collective control. All of these people are lying, right? They're using our label to run cover for themselves. They're trying to steal our label. They're trying to steal the label of a good movement to try and run a bad movement. That doesn't mean that we're running cover for them.
I would just point out, I think there's an argument. It's
Wait, but then if you know that and you're doing it and they take advantage of you, aren't you literally like a fucking yeah. Aren't you technically like that bad faith? Anyway, whatever. Weird.
speculative and maybe accusatory that some of these people are confused. Let's leave Aaron out of it because we like Aaron. To be honest.
Well, I just
But-
don't know enough about like I just
Yeah.
don't know
Okay.
enough
But
about Aaron
let's
to
talk
make
about
any-
Hassan, for example, or Mike from PA.
I will
I mean,
say the
they're-
clips I just saw from Aaron they make me want to ask more questions. Now I have concerns, right?
Well, so come
That's
on.
because,
you can
but it's circular, right? Because